and then maybe you could back up, start with a question and introduction, and anyway. And in fact, what we might want to do would be to start with an introduction of what you're going to be covering today, and then at the appropriate time jump into Tanya's question at that time, whenever you think it's appropriate.
Okay, I can do that.
Does that work for you, Tanya?
So I've started recording. Today what we're going to go over, everybody in the practice rounds went through their first practice round today, completed their practice round 1. So today we're going to go over some common mistakes that people have made in the previous round and ways that we can improve so that we can compete better against the computers as we go through round 2.
Great. And remind us where to go to find this information that you're looking at.
If you go to your dashboards, and then if you go, because I can't get to it right here.
Right.
But if you go to your dashboard and you actually just go into your thing, you can look up your fast track and your balance scorecard from there.
Okay.
I can probably log into a company right here. So if you launch your web spreadsheet, then you can either get to it by going through your reports and looking through your fast track, and then your performas by checking out your balance scorecard. Those are 2 things we're going to do. Or you can go to your decision audit or your decisions. No, reports. That's what it is. So you can go to your industry reports, and then you can look at your foundation fast track from there or your annual report from there.
Great.
So those are 2 ways that you can get into it. So what we're going to do is there's a few things that people did. So it seems like everyone did good. If we go to their scorecards, everybody did pretty good on their scorecards. Only 2 people got below a 40, which is not bad at all on the scorecard. So everybody did good, but why? Maybe it's just because it was the first round and everybody started out the same. So we're going to view the fast track, and we're going to check out everybody's stuff. So if you come to here, you can look at how everybody did.
Now, everybody should be Andrews, is that correct?
So Andrews. We're looking at Andrews because everybody's Andrews. And we're just going to go over 1 student's, and then we'll try to go through another student's as well, and we'll kind of, without saying who it is.
So let me just remind students, so Andrews is your team, individual team, and then you're playing against 5 other computer teams, Baldwin, Chester, Digby, Arian, Ferris.
Yeah.
Right.
Perfect. So if you want to kind of see how you can do better, what you're going to do is you're going to look at your financial statistics first, which is just the first page. And you're going to compare how you did with the other against the computers. So Andrews on this one, he made about $32 million in sales, or $32 billion. Oh no, that's still $32 million. And Baldwin made 53, the highest. Digby made 55, and nobody had any emergency loans, which is good. So Andrews goes through and he's thinking, hey, how come I sold the least? How come I didn't make as much money as everyone else when I went through and I did everything I thought I was supposed to do? So the next thing Andrews is going to do is he's going to go down and he's going to look at his production analysis. So this is the production analysis page. So your production analysis will show you how many units you actually sold, how many units you have left over that didn't sell, and it will tell you the price that you had, your performance and size and age, and your MTBF, and it will basically tell you everything about your product. So you're going through and you're saying, hey, Baker sold the most.
Andy, this is Quinn. I'm just wondering, can you blow up the screen? Some of the students might be looking at this on a smaller laptop. Control plus, will that make the screen a little larger so that we might be able to...
Is that better?
Fantastic. I think that'll make, yes, perfect. That'll make it easier to see the numbers on a smaller laptop. Thank you.
Okay, sorry.
That's a lot.
Okay. So this is Baker sold 1,607 units. When me, Andrews, or Baldwin, I only sold 854 of my Able. So how come I didn't sell more? That's the question. How come I didn't sell as much as all these people right here? So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to look at the customer buying criteria for the low and high tech and try to compare it to my performance and size and my price and my MTBF and age. I'm going to try to see what makes theirs better than mine and why I didn't sell so much. So I'm going to go through and I'm going to go look at the low tech criteria. And if everybody remembers, when everybody's Able started out kind of in between the low and high tech markets. So I'm going to go in and I'm going to say, hey, the low tech was about $35. It's the highest that anybody's going to pay for a low tech product. And that's 41% important. The age that I want is 3 years, and that's 29% important. The MTBF is 14 to 20,000, and that's 21% important. And the position is really the least important thing for the low-tech market. So now I'm going to go see how I did. So my price was $38. That is $3 above the 35, which wouldn't be a horrible thing, but if you look at Baker's, his is only $33.40. So obviously someone's going to go in the low-tech market, 41% of the people are going to go to his first because of the price. So I lost some people there. So if I would have lowered my price some, they would have competed better and more people would have bought my product. Next thing I'm going to do is look at the age. So my age ended at 4.1 years, where Baker's age ended at 2.5. So his age is only 0.5 years off from 3 years, where mine is 1.1 years off from 3 years. So he also beat me in age. So then I'm going to look at the MTBF, and it says that the MTBF should be somewhere from 14 to 20,000, which is 21% important. Now my MTBF is better than his, so people would have bought mine because of that, but his is still at the high level of the MTBF. So it looks like when it comes to, and our performance and size were about the same. So when I'm comparing myself to the one who sold the most, I can see that for the next round, I'll want my price to be lower, and I'll want my age to be lower, and it's just so that it competes with everybody else in the market. And if you go through, you can see that my price is actually the highest out of everybody's, which might be why everyone else sold more than me.
Can you remind us how to drop the age, Andy?
Yeah.
And if you're going to get to that later, you can hold that question.
No, I can do that right now. So if I go to my decisions, and I can launch the web bridge, and I can go to my R&D, and R&D is where you can change it. So it looks like my age is already going to change down to 2.2 to 2.9, which is really good. But if I wanted to change it, because it's already in the revision date, I can't touch this one. But if I wanted to change my age, all I have to do is revise its performance and size. I can revise its performance by only 0.1 if I wanted to, but it would still cut the age in half. So if you look at age revision, it says that the new perceived age of the design when the product emerges from R&D, movement of product on the perceptual map affects the age, but changing the MTBF specifications does not. So just doing the MTBF won't change your age. But when the product moves, customers see the product as younger than the old design, but not entirely new. They cut the old age in half, and behaves as though the design is younger.
So it would be wise to change the performance and the size slightly each round, at least slightly. Is that right?
Yes, at least slightly. So, well, no, not every round. So
Well, yeah, that's right. When it's needed.
when it's needed. So if you look at mine's at 2.9, next round it'd probably be good just to let it go 3.9 because it passes through that 3 years mark in the middle of the round, which will be good. And then the round after
Okay.
that, I would revise it to bring it back down to 2 and kind of go through. So that's how you can do that. And then if we go back, now I want to know why my product didn't sell so good in the high-tech market. So if I go to the high-tech market and I look at the buying criteria, this says that ideal position is the most important thing, 33% important. So I'm going to go back up here and I'm going to say, hey, is my product the best? So my performance is 6.4, which is about average. It looks like Ferris had the best performance and the lowest size. So they would have sold more in the high-tech market. So if I go through and I say, hey, Ferris had a high price too, how come they sold at least 1,320? Well, it's because they sold more in the high-tech market, which will accept the price from $25 to $45, which is 25% important. So if I go through, I can look at that and be like, hey, their performance was higher, their price was a little higher, but that's okay because their performance and size was the best out of everyone's, and their age was lower. So my age was 4.1, actually the highest age out of everyone. And if I go down to the high-tech market, it says that it wants the age to be 0. So mine, and that's 29% important. So a third of the importance to anybody that buys a high-tech equipment is the age. So when it comes to the high-tech market, my product wasn't very good at all. The only thing that I had going for it was its MTBF. So those are things that are good to think about when you're trying to sell. So I want to actually show something because there was somebody in the group who did really good and they had their price high and everything, and I want to actually show theirs. So if we go to the industry results, reports, and the Foundation Fast Track, so this was probably the best person in the class. They sold 49 million, which was pretty close to everyone else. And I will say why they were able to sell so much. So let me zoom in again. So I'm going to again go to the production analysis and look at everything. So I'm going to go through and I'm going to say, hey, this person's age was 4.1, or this person's age was 4.1. This person only sold 854. This person sold 1,302. Why is that? Their MTBF was 21. This person's MTBF was 21. Their performance and size were the exact same. Their price was the exact same. Material and labor costs were the exact same. And so now I want to know why this person was able to sell so much more than this person right here when everything looked exactly the same. So here's what they did to make theirs good. So if you go down, the low-tech market segment analysis and the high-tech market segment analysis, they're explaining your product even more in depth. It will say the list price, the MTBF, the age, performance, and everything. It will say who sold the most in each market, and then in order. But it also tells you, this is the key, it also tells you your customer awareness and your customer accessibility. So if we look at this person who sold the most, and we look at their product more in depth because we want to see why this person didn't sell as much, we look at their product more in depth, we'll be able to see some things. So this person who didn't do so well is Able. Right here is their product in Andrews. Their customer awareness was 73%, and their customer accessibility was 27%. This is huge. And their survey was 9, so people didn't necessarily. This is their customer survey, which kind of says how much people like their product once they bought it, and that was kind of low too. But 27% accessibility is not good at all. So that means that they didn't invest in their promo budget. Because if I go down, no. Well, I'll just say it because I have to go in. But it says that they didn't invest in their promo budget, so they only had 28% in the high-tech market and 27% accessibility in the low-tech market. And their awareness was fine. Theirs better than most, but their accessibility wasn't good, so people knew about their product, but they couldn't find it. And that's a huge thing. If we go over this guy's, who sold the 1,302 compared to the 895, we look at theirs, they are Able, and their accessibility is 49%. Their accessibility is higher than everyone else's. So people could find their product first. Not only were they aware of their product the most, because theirs is at 87%, but they also knew where to find it. So they were able to sell that much, keep the price the same, do everything the same as this person over here. They did everything the same, but because their customer accessibility and awareness were better, they were able to sell more. So that just goes to say how important customer awareness and accessibility is. These were the only things that I actually saw that people did, that people kind of forgot about. They didn't put enough money in their accessibility to promote their accessibility or awareness. So if you guys work on those things, then you can get away with some more of the mistakes of not having your price correct and things like that than if your awareness and everything wasn't so good. So, Brother Galbraith, you got anything else to add?
What about looking at the top of the fast track, the ROE, return on equity? Any suggestions there, or the SGA? So we look at that. We'll look at certainly things to look at here on this front sheet here. We've got sales, ROE, contribution margins. Do you want to talk about any of those things, or?
Well, these things would tell you how good you did the last round, but they won't necessarily be able to tell you how to help yourself in the next rounds. They kind of just say,
right.
Oh, I was able to, if I did everything the same as I did last round, I sold 17.64% this round. That means next round I could probably sell 17.64% of the market again. That's about what it will tell you. Yeah. So
now, great. Now, Tanya had a question previously, and
Tanya, you want to ask your question?
I did. Part of it was about the ROE and ROA and finding out if looking at that could help us. But also, just a second ago, when you were talking about the promo budget and the customer awareness and the accessibility, increasing your promo budget is going to help increase your customer awareness, right?
Okay. So if we go to I'll kind of explain it. If we go to our decisions, and I'll open up the spreadsheet.
Because my question then was also, when talking about accessibility, that has to do with your sales budget. Is that right?
So accessibility does have to do with your sales budget, and your promo budget has to do with your awareness. So promo budget this year, promo derives customer awareness. Sales budget drives accessibility.
And there's some great tips in this tutorial right here. Clicking on that I that will help you understand what it costs to keep it at 100%, or what it falls to each round. So encourage people to look at that, read that.
Exactly. This will actually explain everything just as good as I could teach you, and probably better.
Tanya, you had a
And I
question
think you're
before,
getting
and I don't know if we got to that question.
I think he was getting to that question because basically that's what I was asking. If we're looking at our reports and we can see that we're falling behind, I was asking then how do we know what kind of decisions we need to be making? What do we need to change? And how do we know how to change our standing? And so I think he was starting to get into that. What he's said already has been helpful.
Okay, great.
Okay. Also,
Do you
just
have any
comparing yourself to the other teams is always going to help as well.
Okay.
So
That's, I guess that's kind of my point is like I'm looking at it and I say, okay, I can see that the top performing company has this and this and this. If I adjust all of my numbers to match,
or to
you know,
beat.
then yeah, or to beat. I mean, is that what you're going for? Is basically
Yeah, because you want yours to
just
compete better.
outperform, right? And so I just want to make my decisions in a way that I'm doing better than they are.
Yes.
Okay.
So you want your awareness to be better than theirs. You want your accessibility to be better than theirs. If you have something in the low-tech market, you want their price and age, which are the top two things, to be better than theirs. If you're going for the high-tech, you want at least your position and age to try to be better than theirs.
So does it kind of come down to who's getting the decisions made faster?
No.
It's
Everybody
coming
will
to-
run the round at the same time, and everything will go into the market at the same time. So it doesn't matter about the speed of the decisions as long as you have it input. By the time your teacher runs the round, you'll be fine.
Okay.
Does that answer your question, Tanya?
I think so.
Okay.
I'm sure I'll have more later.
Okay.
You will.
So is
And
there
if you want to go over, well, if someone said, okay, I had Able, and I'd like to create another product that maybe would address, let's say, the high tech or the low tech, whatever, some considerations they might take in as they are considering, let's say, in round 2, adding another product.
Okay. It will be basically the same thing that I taught before. You're going to go to your R&D and your Andrews. So every product that you have will need to start with an A. I like your old name, so I will choose Allie. The next thing you can do is it says that you're in round 2, so you can go to your reports, go to your industry condition reports, and if you scroll down, it will actually have a kind of a Excel spreadsheet thing right here, or they'll actually tell you what every performance and size should be for every round. So for the high tech, for round 2, I want it to be 7.4 in the high tech and 12.6 for the size. If I wanted
And
to build
obviously-
one in the low tech, then I'd go by that.
Obviously, the low-tech changes 0.5 each round, and the high-tech
Yep.
changes 0.7 each round. And so, yes.
So just like it says up here as well.
Right. Yeah, thank you for pointing that out.
So that's one way if you're horrible at math, because I know some people, when they're frustrated, they can't figure things out as well. You can just come to you can just go to your your reports and do the industry conditions report, and that will pop up.
Okay, great.
And then once you do that, you just go back and you say, hey, I want it to be, because I want a high-tech market, I'm going to do 7.4 and 12.6. I'm going to do 7.4 and 12.6. I want my size to be about 20,000, because that's a good number. I'm going to recalculate, and I'm going to look at where it is. So Allie's actually right there. So, oh, that's because I'm looking at round 2. Really, I need to look at round 3, because that's when it's going to go. So it's going to be 8.1 and 11.9. Okay. So that's the sweet spot. I don't necessarily want it to be there. I want it to be even higher. So I'm going to go to my high tech, my fast track. And if you see it says 8.1, 11.9, I want it to be even higher than what that actually is. So I'm going to go, because it's going to come out around the 29th of September 17th. So let me go back to that. So I'm going to go up, because I want it to be around this side. So I'm going to go up another 0.7, go down another 0.7. Look at where it's at. And now it comes out on December 17th. So I don't necessarily want it to go any higher. I might want to go a little lower so that it doesn't come out at the end of the year next year. It will actually come out sooner. And then I'll try adjusting it again as I go. So I'm going to leave it right there just for right now, but that's how you would create another product. Does that explain everything pretty well, Brother Gabreth? Or
Yes, yes, it does. Thank you.
okay.
Now, the performas, do you want to show us how you might use those? The reports are very helpful, and you've gone over those. But the performas, as you're in the round trying to make decisions, of course, the performas are things that are in the future, right?
Yep. So if you look at your balanced scorecard, this is what you're going to play with. You want to have the highest scorecard you can get, and this will pretty much tell you what you're going to get for the next round. It's usually a little higher than what it is. You usually get, like this score right here is usually a little higher than what you get if you're doing it pretty good. So you're going to go through and you're going to say, hey, I want my stock price to be up. I want my profits to be up. I know how to do that. I can raise those just by making my product more to be able to sell better. But how do I figure out my leverage? It says my leverage needs to be in between 1.8 and 2.8. But what is leverage? I don't even know. It says ratio of assets to equity. I don't even know what that means. So you're going to go to your performas, and you're going to look at your ratios. So if you look at your ratios, it will tell you what your ROE is, your ROA, what your leverage is, your asset turnover, because it says you need to be in between 1.8 and something, but how do you know what you're at right now? Well, if you look at your ratios and your performance, it will tell you that your leverage is a 2.3. So I want my leverage to be lower. Oh no, my leverage is perfect because it's in between 1.8 and 2.8. But if my leverage was at 1.2 or something, then I would know by looking at my ratios that, oh, my leverage was 1.2. I need to either raise my assets or lower my equity. So then you're going to go through and you're going to keep on going through these things. Each one will explain what each one is, and they'll even give you a little map to kind of show you what you need. And your ratios will help a lot with finding out how to build that up.
Andy, can I ask you another question about this?
Yes.
So when you're looking at this is it giving you the score for the next round of what it's determining what you might be at the next round? Is that what that's saying?
Yes.
Okay. Is that taking into account the decisions that you are making?
Yes. So what
okay, so you can go back and adjust your decisions, and then you can go back and look at this to see if it corrected it or if it got you to where you wanted to go?
Yes, to see if it went up or not or lower, so you can keep going back and forth.
Great.
Make some decisions, click on update or calculate, I think it is, and then go back to your performance and say, what did that just do?
Yes. So if I went down to my production and I did something like, hey, I'm going to sell, I'm going to make like 1,500, I'm going to make like 500 here, I'm going to go to my marketing, and I'm going to sell that 1,500, I'm going to recalculate. How did that help with, oh, and I'm going to raise my price up because I want to. How did that affect my scorecard? So now my stock price and profits are at 8 and 9 where they were at zeros, but my leverage went down to 0. So if I think I'm actually going to sell that much at that price and everything, then I'm doing a whole lot better than what I was before. But then you're going to have to try to fix your leverage. Does that make sense? Okay. So then if you go to your performas, you also have your cash flow, income, and balance sheet. Basically, what these will do is they'll just tell you how you're doing in the market, like how much money you have left over, what you have in your assets, what you have in your liabilities, so you could figure out your leverage better. If you go to your income statement, it will say how much you sold for each company, so you can actually divide out how much you're selling for each company to kind of figure out who's actually making you the most money and which one you might want to invest more in so it can make you even more money, or which one you need to invest more in to catch up to your other products. And then if your net profit is below, is red, then you're spending too much money. If you look at your cash flow statement, a lot of things that helps out with stock is just knowing how much cash you have in your possession. So if you have a lot of cash, then that's going to help out your stock prices, because that's what people look for when it comes to stocks and things like that, is how much profit you made and how much cash you have on hand and things like that.
Okay.
So did that explain everything pretty well, Brother Galbraith? Or
It did, and this is helpful. I mean, I know we could go more, but running out of time and want to keep it, I think this is appropriate for round one, so perfect. Thank you.
Yep.
Any other questions? I guess with that, if you could send me that recording.